It is now my distinct privilege to extend an invitation to our honorable chief guest, Mr. Musadik Masood Malik, Federal Minister of Climate Change and Environmental Coordination, to deliver his esteemed remarks.
General Sahab, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me. I just got back from GB. I'll toggle between Urdu and English to make sure that, we cater to all of our friends. So I was in GB, and I honestly did not have a fair sense of what a GLOF is going to be about, what GLOF is really about. So I went into the mountains and we saw a few glaciers there. And then we came down from where the glaciers were. And we saw boulders. We saw boulders half the size of this stage. And then one realized that GLOF, the glacier that we are destroying, the glacier that is warming up, the asset that we accumulated over millions of years, which is now turning into almost an ocean-like characteristic or a lake-like characteristic. A 100-mile-long glacier or a 10-mile-long glacier with warming encapsulates almost an ocean. And when this glacier bursts, the ocean comes down, or the lake comes down. And this ocean or lake comes down from 30,000 feet, 15,000 feet, 19,000 feet. And as it comes down, it brings with it these boulders. The boulders, the size of half of this stage. Imagine what civilization looks like that stands in the way of that boulder. Imagine a child who stands there in awe, not just of nature, but also of death, standing and looking at half a mountain rolling down. The mud, the boulders, the lake, flushing out everything that comes in its way, everything. And I stood there, I looked at the boulders, I tried to time them. Some said, this one came 100 years ago, this one came 50 years ago. But the rate at which GLOFs are bursting now, that rate is increasing. So I was worried about climate, I was worried about glaciers, I was worried about them bursting and rolling down. But most of all, I was worried about the kids who stood in its way. The little villages, every household that faces the disaster, which is a theory at these conferences, an idea that disaster is bad because disasters come and we are not prepared. I would urge you all to go there and look into the eyes of those young children and ask yourself for real what these disasters mean. Imagine one kid dying. Imagine your kid dying. Now imagine one kid dying. Now imagine a whole village getting wiped out. Now imagine about a third of Sindh flooded and drowned and washed away. The churches, the mosques, the schools, the maternity health clinics, buildings that date back to thousands of years, all getting washed away. And now imagine this conference room and the sterility of these theoretical arguments. And I would challenge you all to kind of titrate them against those communities that stand in the way of these disasters. That is the real problem that we are here to solve. It's very difficult to speak after General Saab. I've heard him speak many times, and once he's done speaking, there's very little left to say. So that's why I had a computer, I had my notes, and by the time he was done, I just put the flap down because there was nothing left to say. But I would say a few things, more at a higher level, because he said it all. There's not much left. And the first thing that I would like to highlight to you is that there are 2 countries in the world, 2, not 10. 2 countries in the world that contribute 45% of the carbon burden. 2 countries. And one of them has decided to get out of all of the treaties. And it's telling the world, buzz off. It doesn't apply to me. I mean, when we talk about Pakistan and we talk about the problems of Pakistan, we talk about, what is it called? हमारा जो जागीरदारी निज़ाम है उसको हम क्या कहते हैं अंग्रेजी में जी? Feudalism. Feudalism. And what is feudalism? Feudalism is saying that there are laws of the land, of the village, the global village, the world. And I am the arbiter as the chief. And if some injustice is done in the village, I, the feudal lord, shall decide how it's going to get arbitrated. And who is going to pay what, and at what cost, and what is justice going to be like. But hey, you peasants, don't even let yourself think that these rules apply to me. I would impart justice, but those rules of justice don't apply to me. So don't look at me. I am the Lord. And that is exact feudalism that we're facing right now across the globe. The rules are there for you. They don't apply to me. So I pollute. I tell you what to do. But don't ask me to be a part of this treaty, because I'm not. For I'm the governor, the feudal lord of the world. So 2 countries, 45% carbon burden. 10 countries, 75% of the carbon burden. Over 75% of the carbon dioxide burden in any way, whether it's carbon dioxide or methane or anything, any measure that you want to use. 10 countries of the world are contributing 75%, 2 are contributing 45%, and one of them, one of the biggest contributors is saying the rules don't apply to me. They only apply to us. So here we are, with the story of glaciers and the kids, telling you about our vulnerability. Vulnerability which has not come about on us because of us. Vulnerability that has been imposed on us by those who are consuming the environment. So the hazard, the problem that we're facing, the crisis that we are confronting right now is not the crisis of disasters. It's the crisis of justice. And that's the first thing that I would like to submit to you. That we are here not just talking about the disaster, the crisis of disaster and the warming and all of those systems that General Saab has so aptly put in front of you. Politically, I want to bring to the fore the crisis of justice in front of you. Now, ain't it very interesting that the countries that produce 70% or 75% of the carbon are the exact same 10 countries that are consuming 85% of the green financing of the world. Yes, I have counted. I have numbers. You can count too. I know you're counting. So count. If you want, I can roll down the numbers in terms of countries as well. Top 2 countries, the same top 2 countries that take 45%, ask yourself how much of the green financing are they consuming? And then add a bunch of Western European countries and you'll get all of your answers. 85% of the green financing. So what are these developing economies? Vagabonds? that are going to live at the periphery of the world? Is this just lip service? What about Africa? 10 countries consume 85% of all of the green financing that we are talking about in the way of AI applications and disasters. This is one country. 10 countries are consuming 85% of the green resources. Where's Africa? Does it even show on the graph? Where's South Asia? I can't even find Pakistan. So the gap is not financing. It's the moral gap that I would like to talk about. It's not the crisis of disasters, it's the crisis of justice. And it's not the gap of financing, it's the moral gap that I'd like to bring to the fore. These are the issues that we are confronting right now in the way of disaster management of the world. Well, when I look at us, Pakistan, and I use the word us before Pakistan, because when I say us, I talk about and talk for all of the developing countries of the world. All of the poor countries that are out there at the periphery. I speak for all of them. And I ask and demand, what about us? Where are we in this global village or global fabric that everyone so fondly talks about? Because I don't even see ourselves, not us, just Pakistan, not even a patch on this global fabric. But we are not going to look at this story just as the story of injustice or moral gap or moral hazard. I'm also going to tell you, as General Saab has, I'm also going to tell you the story of resilience. The way we describe the poor countries of the world, the way we describe the poor, they should all be dead. And yet they are not. And they are not because they are resilient. Because there's something about these mud house communities which has survived all of these earthquakes, and all of these floods, and all of these gulfs, and all of these climate changes forever. And they shall continue to do that. If the world helps us, we'll do more. If the world helps us, we'll do better. But if they don't, we'll still do it. By God, we will do it because we are doing it for our own children. And we've done it over centuries. There's nothing new. So we shall continue to do it for times to come, till we all fade away. So I would like to, as General Saab has done, also tell you the story of resilience. All of what you've seen today, and all what I saw in Gilgit-Baltistan, and all I saw downstream in Sindh, and all I saw in the ocean in the way of mangroves, that life, that green city called mangroves with streets and people, little mud, I don't know, hoppers or whatever they're called, catchers. It's like a whole different universe. And that universe is our resilience. Our communities are our resilience. I went to these community centers where NDMA and the local deputy commissioners, who are the coordinators of NDMA in that province, how they're building up, with the help of UNDP and many of our other partners, they are building up those community centers where people are getting trained, that if you get 12-minute warning or 20-minute warning, what is it that you need to do in those 20 minutes which are going to mean life and death? It's easy, it's easy. Because those communities have been doing it for centuries. We just organizing, NDMAs organizing them, empowering them, giving them the assets, the infrastructure, the tents, the medicines, so they can do what they've been doing for centuries more expediently and save their children better. I'm also going to look at it from another point of strength and resilience. 30 years ago, there was a map that General Saab has just shown. The map of the worst 10 countries in the world in terms of smog and climatic burden and air burden and so on and so forth. And about 4 or 5 of them were Chinese. And the only thing that you heard was the masks and China, because people couldn't breathe. Now China exports 70 to 80% of the world's solar technology. They have leveraged the taxing demand that they had into the world's strongest cluster of solar technology. And China is not alone in the universe. In the 1970s, Finland did exactly the same. Finland was a forest, and Nokia was a tire company, not a phone company. And they were killing their forests to produce rubbers and tires. And at that point in time, some wise person stood up and set up the world's highest standards of environment in Finland. The world's highest standards. And by the turn of the century, Finland was exporting 1/3 of the world's environmental technology. Because of the high standards that they set to save their forests, and China to save their cities. One is exporting 70% of solar technology of the world, and the other was exporting 1/3 of environmental technology of the world. That's what we want to do. So we'd like to invite the rest of the world and tell them that Pakistan, the green Pakistan, is open for business. You've seen technologies. You've seen our National Emergency Operating Center. You've seen the screens. Behind those screens are these uniform pictures. And behind those uniform pictures is AI technology. And behind those technologies are modeling training kind of platforms. And behind those modeling training platforms are data centers. And behind those data centers are data engineers. So we must have them all. In order for us to invite you, when we invite you to that national center, a National Emergency Operating Center, and you look at that screen, what you're looking at is the human competence that Pakistan has. And we are going to leverage this competence. Every single stall that I went to and I saw and I asked questions, I was trying to figure out what more can we leverage. Where is this research going on? Which universities are involved? How are we going to commercialize this? Because we are not just looking for assistance. We're going to build up green clusters. We're going to build up green jobs. We're going to have just there, like there's a forest of trees and green forest in mangroves. We're going to build exactly in the same fashion streets and little alleys of new green businesses across Pakistan. And all of these young men and women who are coming out of universities who are not cynical like me, not old and cynical and dull, they're still starry-eyed, and they still believe that the world can be changed. We're going to empower them. And our job is simply to get out of their way and let them be. And this government is committed to getting out of the way of these starry-eyed young men and women who are behind these stalls, who are behind these screens, who are behind these uniform pictures, who are behind these training platforms. Our job is just to unleash their power. That's it. And that is what we are going to do. And that is our people and our communities. That is our true resilience against disasters. And by God, we'll build this resilience. History is not going to judge us on this center. This center would have morphed. It would have a very different form. History is not going to judge us on early warning detection centers that I saw, those radars and so on and so forth. And much work needs to be done, and we'll have a separate conversation about connectivity and so on and so forth. History will judge us on the decisions that we make today. And these decisions have to be made for our children, in their image. For us, we've already happened. So don't get judged for conferences. Get judged for the decisions that you make today. Thank you very much for your attention.
I would like to thank our honorable chief guests for such an insightful and informative speech.